Hi, welcome to the Dan Bradbury podcast, where turnover is vanity, profit is sanity, and cash is king. In this podcast, I'll bring you resources, tips, interviews, and lots more to help to grow your business and make it less dependent on you. Hi, I'm Dan Bradbury.
And I'm Topher Morrison.
Welcome to the Dan Bradbury podcast.
Yes, my friend, thanks for letting me be on the show again today. What's going on in the news?
Big news?
Business-wise. I don't need the whole rundown of all the crap that's happening in the world. Just from a business perspective, what's going on?
Right. Big news. We've been predicting it. We've been talking about it for some time. But Britain, the Bank of England have said Britain is headed towards a 15-month recession. It's going to be in recession is predicted between now and the end of 2023.
See, you know what's weird for me, and I have a hard time wrapping my head around this. We know the governing underlying factors that create a recession. All of those are within our control, and I mean the government's control, right? To the point where they even can predict how long the recession is going to last. Like, if in business, right? Like, if we knew how long our sales were going to slump, well, we could probably fix it a lot quicker than we think it would, right? It just boggles my brain that they can predict it'll be for 15 months and then it's going to magically go away.
Well, it's demonstrably false, right? Like, I think I was only yesterday reading the prediction. I'm making up these percentages now that the prediction for growth next year was 0.5%, down from 1.3% the year before, and now it's obviously predicted to be a loss. So, what's it? The quote? Even a stopped watch is right twice a day. Like, they're just making predictions, and then when it changes, they go, "Well, we got new data, so we changed it." And when it's correct, in rare occasions, it's got to go, "See?
Yeah, we're amazing." Yeah.
Now, to be fair, like, I don't think anybody can time the market, but they do have to make decisions about what to do based upon what they think is going to happen in the future, right? Do you scale up? So on a small business level, do you scale up? Do you hire staff? Do you batten down the hatches?
Well, let's talk about that. Let's go a little bit deeper here. From a business perspective, you're a small business owner. You open up the paper. The banks say, we're going into a recession. It's going to last for 15 months. What are some things you can do as a small business owner to safeguard, to prepare yourself for a recession so you don't die on the vine?
Well, the first thing, personally, and this is somewhat insensitive, I'm thinking, woo!
I was going to say, so you're feeling like yourself today?
Yeah, right. There has never been a better time to be an entrepreneur. And look, when it comes to...
Why has there never been a better time right now?
Well, look...
Because everybody goes, but it's going to be harder to make sales, business is going to go down, blah, 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 blah.
It's never, look, on a macro level, technology's never been better, the world's never been more connected. There's a whole host of things, which means it's easier now to develop a business, start a business, fund a business. There's more capital around than there's ever been at any point in human history.
Make it more efficient, need less labor.
Right, it's easier to reach the markets. But specifically, I'm excited, and I think the people listening and watching this podcast should be excited too, because when there's a recession, that's when you can get the opportunity to grab market share, right? You know, the whole thing of a rising tide floats all boats, raises all boats. But actually, when it gets a little bit tighter, it's the weak members of the herd that get caught,
that's
right?
Why, to capitalize on that metaphor that you just used, that's why Warren Buffett says that when the tide goes out, that's when you can see when people aren't wearing...
naked.
Yeah, who's been swimming naked, yeah.
Right. And we're going to talk about that in a moment when we're talking about the business fail of the week. But there are going to be opportunities present. The job market's going to get better for hiring, right? So
we'll have more people to pick from.
Correct, because there'll be redundancies, there'll be layoffs, and I want to be clear, I get for individuals in the greater economy, it's tough that people might have the cost of living crisis, etc. That's a real deal. I'm not trying to make light of that. Yeah. But the entrepreneur, the business owner side, it's like, wow, the job market's been so hard. Yeah. Paying people 50% more salary for the same role as only 12 months ago.
Yeah. That's hard to keep up with.
And getting crappier staff.
And less loyal staff because they're getting another offer in 3 months from another company and another offer in 6 months from another company, and they're just jumping around like lily pads.
So all of a sudden, the weak members of the herd, business-wise, get culled, and then there are more opportunities, more assets, and it's been shown time and time again in all the recessions that the next decade's unicorns, the next decade's big businesses, the dominant businesses, are being born in the recession because they get market share, like the ones who can survive because their fundamental business proposition, their offer just works.
Yeah.
Like, now's the time. I'm excited.
Okay, this is how well I think I know you now. So you talked about, it thins the herd, the weak ones die. The natural question then is, how do you not be a weak business owner, and how do you strengthen it? And I know you pretty well, and I know it's going to come down to two things. Number one, you're going to say, well, you have to have cash flow. Cash is king. You've got to have cash in the bank. And then underneath that, the underlying message there would be, if you don't know your numbers, you're going to be one of the weak ones that die, because you've got to know your numbers, your business finance, in order to survive the tough times. And most people think, oh, it's just sales. No.
Well, you've nailed it, and then I'll give you secret option number 3. So I think you're right, as in how much dry powder do you have, right? That's a private equity kind of term. Like how much cash is on the sidelines, because that's your buffer, right? That's your insurance policy. And I do think your cash flows, but the secret option number 3 is how reliable, predictable, sustainable is your business model, right? Like, I think that there are some businesses that grow massively and even exponentially, but there's no foundation.
Yeah.
So when the market tightens, all of a sudden all that revenue disappears. There's no predictability, sustainability. You know, I was listening to the CEO of Duolingo, I forget his name, the other day, and he was talking about when his experience of becoming a public company has been great, which is unusual.
Yeah, that's normal. That's not normal.
But when he was quizzed on that and said, like, normally people hate, he said it's very doable if you've got very predictable revenue streams and revenue model and kind of predictable growth, and because they're recurring revenue stream nature of their business, freemium model, but it's a subscription service.
Yeah.
Basically, it was reliable, predictable, sustainable, and because it's international, stable.
Yeah.
That stability meant that there was no big shocks on Wall Street,
Right.
which means he's not getting a hard time. The stock's not getting pounded.
Yeah.
Right? But somebody listening going, oh, well, this is not about a floated company. On an individual level, you're stressed if you're not confident where your sales are going to go.
Sure.
Because the market tightens and all your business disappears.
Yeah.
Right?
All right, speaking of that probably leads us to the next segment, business fail of the week. Let's talk about who's screwing the pooch this week.
The business fail of this week is Robin Hood.
Robinhood, they were just crushing it. They were at the top of their game about a year ago because they hadn't figured out how to screw the big man. What's going on?
Right. That's the point. Their revenues are down 44%. Right.
Yeah.
And of course, what really screwed them.
That's a mortal wound.
Unbelievably so. Well, they're cutting a quarter of the workforce. 25% of the workforce of a publicly traded company is going because their sales have dropped off a cliff. I mean, your business is cut in half. I mean, just...
It's repairable. It's not doomed for failure, but that's pretty hard.
Well, and my perspective, if you wonder inside of it, the reason why, it's because their business model is not predictable. Effectively, it got hyped up. One of the things that they got hurt by was the crypto crash.
Yeah.
Right? And so they've expanded for revenue that wasn't sustainable.
Yeah. Well, I think there were two things. They didn't account for the crash in the crypto. But number two, regulation stepped in and made it harder for them to do what they did with GameStop in short selling their stock. And they basically wiped out their ability to do that. So their most successful move got taken away from something. I don't want to say it's outside of their control, but if I was sitting in their shoes, I'd say, but it's outside of my control. So I have some empathy there, is that the government just came and shut that possibility down, which is the big guy going, oh, wow, they finally found a weakness. Let's fix it.
I'm going to get a load of hate for this, but I know it's always easy in hindsight, but it was so predictable. It was so damn predictable. Like it's kind of obvious as soon as you kind of just think about that fundamental business model. It was... I don't want to say it sounds scammy, but like the crypto crash. Yeah. This is where I'm going to get
But it is a little scammy, isn't it? I mean, they're going, oh, we found a way to game the system. We're going to screw over Wall Street. And then they didn't take into consideration, but Wall Street owns the government, and they can regulate us right out of business.
That's always going to, it's always going to shut down. It feels like opportunistic. It feels, and I'm in favor, entrepreneurial, of
Strike while the iron's hot.
Correct.
Yeah, look at an opportunity and
But
take it. Yeah.
I suppose it just speaks to ethics and morals to me. So, different context. So this is where I'm going to get the hate now. Cryptocurrency. I've got some close friends of mine that...
I'm so right there with you. I don't know what you're going to say, but I think I know what you're going to say, and I'm right there with you.
I've been saying this the whole time through. I'm on tape plenty of time saying this. I've had a lot of private clients. I've got some close friends that have invested heavily in crypto. But it was always going to crash. It was always going to crash. Now, before people jump down my throat, I believe cryptocurrency is going to change the world. But I do not invest in it.
Yeah.
Because it's volatile as all hell, and then people are already getting this coin, that coin, that. As soon as you zoom out and have any perspective and don't get lost in the minutiae of crypto, just any commodity, like you've got these massive peaks and troughs, you're going to go, it goes up that quickly, it's coming down just as fast.
And I would also argue on something that is trendy like that, right? Which is current, it's the flavor of the month or the week or the year, right? It also tends to attract a lot of people that don't know what the hell they're doing, which increases the volatility. Because what happens is the amateurs overreact to a fluctuation in the market, and because so many people overreact, it's like a trailer that just can't get itself back, and it just starts oscillating until the wheels just fall off. And I think that's also probably another.
I think, I mean, you could say business model, but you could also say about who is your avatar? I think that's an important lesson to think about. Who's your ideal client? I don't think we can get through a podcast, Topher, without me bigging up my man, Warren.
Yeah.
So, he talks a lot about Berkshire Hathaway.
We should just change the background of the
Just
show
to
to just be a big face of Warren Buffett.
Warren Buffett fan club.
Yes.
Yeah. Look,
there's the new name for the podcast, the Warren Buffett fan club. Massive SEO ranking on that one.
Well, I think... there's a reason why his stock, the Berkshire Hathaway stock, is over $300,000 a share, right? It's and why he's never split it. And he says he doesn't split the stock because he doesn't want people that are in and out quickly. He likes the fact that people that, if they invest in it, they invest in it for a long term. He wants people that have got owner mentality. It's not quick, like, oh, I can make a quick bit of money on GameStop.
Yeah.
If you think about strategies like that, what kind of customers does it attract? And then inherently, if you're into crypto, if you're into a market that's volatile, you're attracting customers that are buying on emotion and highly volatile. Yeah. Like the underlying business is going to be volatile. Now, I want to be clear, that doesn't mean you can't have a business in these sectors. Of course you can. But I would rather you optimize for your survival if you're wrong and the bull market doesn't continue. I'd rather you optimize for your survival if you're wrong than optimize for the upside if you're right. I'd rather you play it a little bit safer, expand a little bit more slowly, and then even if there's a downturn, not having doubled the size of the workforce, and then when there's a recession, all of a sudden you're like, shit, you guys are out the door.
We should totally do a segment focused around finance, but not just finance, but in terms of like the characteristics of smart investors versus overreactive investors. That would be a good topic. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about the business hero of the week.
The business hero of the week is none other than our very own Dean Booty of Stallmore. So Dean
Booty.
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 I'm going to get you to say that as many times as I can.
Yeah. So Dean is a self-storage business owner. He has multiple sites around the country. He also has got a great podcast called Hacking Self-Storage. So it's for professionals in the self-storage industry.
So he's positioning himself as the go-to thought leader in storage as well, which is pretty cool.
Right. Like it's a business within a business. Yeah. He built one site, then he built another site, then he recognized as he mastered the craft, because his margins, if you know the sector, his margins are just absolutely astonishing. Like he is...
The price per square foot for storage is typically higher than the price per square foot for living somewhere. It's crazy.
Well, and actually, it's interesting.
And there's zero maintenance, right? Well, there's no toilets, there's no sinks.
Even I've got interest in investing in self-storage as a side note, because the US is so far ahead of the UK, and he's on the trends. Anyway, because he had all this knowledge, he loves sharing it. Yeah. So he started a podcast, a Hacking Self-Storage podcast. It's not his main business, but as a byproduct, of course, he's getting connections. He's getting sponsors for the podcast. He's getting opportunities to buy businesses. He's getting opportunities to expand. But
he will clean up in the recession if other storage places start struggling.
Right. Well, if you think about the core business model, by the way, because of the recurring steady income, loads of customers are recurring. It's like, who wants to, you move into self-storage, you don't want to move that shit out of there.
Dude,
you've got it out of your house into self-storage. You're going to pay that company £50 a month for the next 76 years.
Let me tell you my story with this. But it's such a racket, and I don't mean that in an unethical way, by the way. But like the stuff that we put and pay in storage is just ridiculous. When I sold my townhouse.
I can beat your story.
Okay, when I sold my townhouse, I had this beautiful, gorgeous dining room table. I spent like stupid money on this thing.
I remember that table.
You remember that table, right? And I didn't want to get rid of that, and it was moved to a place where I couldn't fit it. So I put that stupid table in storage because I was only going to be living temporarily in this new place for 1 year. So okay, it's worth paying $1,200 to preserve my table.
Right.
I kept that storage space, my friend, for 3.5 years. Spent
more than the table.
Well, not more than the table, but because the table was probably about 20 grand, but I spent another $5 grand just storing the thing, and I realized I'm not going to be moving to a place because I've minimalized my life. And I just wasted another $5 grand. Finally, I donated the table to a women's shelter here in Tampa because you can't sell expensive furniture anyway, right? So I just donated it away after I paid the $5.
What kind of stupid comment is that? You can't sell expensive furniture. Of course you can.
Used. You can't sell, like nobody wants to buy used expensive furniture.
I'm going to tell a story now.
Okay, well,
no.
You're right. Yes, I could have sold it.
I'm dropping Topher in on this.
Yeah, okay.
Yesterday, in the studio, Topher was filming a very exclusive podcast. I don't know if I can mention it, but like a great show. And there was a dude in there who's like lost his bags when he travelled in for the podcast. So he borrows Topher's jacket and a shirt and jacket just so we can do the filming. And they're about the same size, so it worked, getting on. At the end, Topher goes to get it back, and the guy goes, "Oh, I absolutely love this. This works. Like I don't mind paying for it. Like I want to keep this."
Yeah.
And yes. Topher.
Can I just go? I don't want to have to. I don't want to relive this.
Just goes, "Oh no, just take it." And then he comes in and tells me how you can't it'd feel weird selling his own shirt and jacket to a guy that wanted to buy it. He had a customer that had a need, that had money, a very successful guy, and so I was like, no, just take it. When he could have just gone, oh yeah, great. The shirt was $100 and the jacket was $400.
Co-host the podcast with Dan, they said. It'll be fun, they said. You'll learn so much, they said.
Anyway, I feel we're getting off track. So the point is, Dean...
next podcast, by the way, for the business fail of the week, you could just humiliate me some more and just talk about how I'm an idiot and can't sell used equipment or furniture.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, anyway, so the reason why Dean's hero, by the way, is smashed it. And so he's looking at sites for acquisition, he's looking for sites to buy, and he opened a site, and he was diligent. He's a private client, we've worked together for a while. He's so on his numbers, he mapped it all out.
He's a part of your private mastermind, not the success mastermind.
Correct,
right?
correct. And when he came, he was almost illiterate.
Financially illiterate. Just so you don't lose him as a client there, by the way.
Yeah, and he is beating all his expectations on his new site. So he launched it and we did it, and I'm like, yeah, this looks good. Because at first he kept bringing me these predictions, and I'd be like, no, don't like it. And then he got this one, and I went, yeah, this is tight. Even I'm struggling to find a hole in this business plan. This is good. And he launched it, and I'm like, I feel good about this. He has smashed every target. He's so far ahead of his target.
Let's plug his website. Do you know what the website is? We'll put it in the show notes if you don't.
Yeah, I know the podcast website is hackingselfstorage.com.
There we go.
I can't remember his...
That's okay.
The company is called Stormwall. The self-storage company is called Stormwall.
Gotcha. It's probably stormwall.co.uk, but who knows? What we'll do is make sure that it's up on the screen and it's in the show notes so people can go find them if they want to. If they happen to be moving out of their house and they want to store a really expensive dining room table... with the illusion that they're going to move into another place, they can go pay him a couple grand a year. All right, cool. All right, so that's the business entrepreneur hero of the week. Let's talk about the book of the week. What's the book you're going to recommend this week?
So this week's book of the week is a timeless classic. In fact, I've read this book so many times I've lost count, and I used to say that I would challenge anybody that's not read this book to read this book from cover to cover. Your income will increase. It couldn't be any other way. And that book is Influence by Robert Cialdini.
Great book.
Right?
Classic book. But why is that the book of the week when this theme is sales? Let's talk about that.
Well, because it's about influence. Like selling is about influencing other people. And so the book has got the kind of 6 principles of influence. Like just one that's perhaps topical right now is authority. So in times of recession, people look around.
Yeah.
They look around.
Who's
So
the
like,
authority figure?
who's the authority figure, right? And that's how you need to position yourself. If you are going to be a leader coming out this recession, you want customers to look at you as an authority and discriminate in your favor. But that book is classic principles, all of them, that can be applied to, I'm going to say, any business. So read that book.
Yeah, it's a classic. In fact, testimony to that book, by the way, because I wrote that book, 20 years ago, long time ago. So I didn't want to read it again. And then when I started to get my MBA, first book they recommended in leadership was Influenced by Robert Cialdini. I'm like, okay, I'll go reread it again. And it was a better book the second time around than it was the first time around. I was able to because then I was able to go, yes, I've done that. I have reference for that. Oh, I remember that one. Yes, and it is a phenomenal book. So I agree 100%. Great book of the week. All right, my friend, let's take us out with an inspiring quote or phrase, something to do with sales.
All right, well, when you talk about sales, you've got to think of the legendary Zig Ziglar. So his quote, each sale has 5 obstacles.
Okay.
No need, no money, no hurry, no desire, no trust. So think about that whilst you're trying to build your sales. And on that basis, if you want a better business, you need to become a better business owner. I hope you enjoyed that episode. 3 things you need to do now. Number 1, make sure you subscribe to this podcast so you do not miss an episode. Also, get on over to Amazon to get a copy of my latest book, Turnover is Vanity, Profit is Sanity, 9.5 steps to improving your profits and cash flow. Also, join our Facebook group, the Turnover is Vanity, Profit is Sanity community, to connect with other business owners.